Hello, adventurer. It's good to see you. You have made it to the morning grind.
Welcome, welcome.
It's the live stream at the beginning of the Geekverse, where we talk about all types of topics in geekdom, gaming, and fantasy, with an emphasis on being constructive and creating the things that we want to exist in the world.
It's all on the grind, Sizemore. Can't be too fine, can't be too coarse.
That's exactly right. There are a lot of adventures to be had today. Dungeons to explore and monsters to slay, and who knows what a random encounter might send our way. That's why we have to prepare. So settle in now for the morning grind with your favorite beverage in hand.
Tea? Or maybe something a little stronger. I've got a few bottles of the old Wynyard left.
Whatever you want. Pull up a chair.
Dude.
If you're feeling fancy, how about a cappuccino? Or a frappuccino? Or how about an espresso?
Just tea, thank you.
Sounds good to me, Gandalf. Whatever you want. I'm just glad you're here.
Everyone is welcome. You can just watch if you want. You don't have to worship anything you don't want to worship.
Thank you, Mike. But be forewarned.
Sometimes we get really strange characters around here.
Wait, what's that you say? Why can't you come and be a part of the stream?
My wife would disown me.
Oh no, I bet she'll be fine with it. Come on in.
Am I scared for my safety? No.
What are we supposed to do?
Everybody do the secret handshake.
Secret cultist handshake.
Oh, now do wizards who love each other.
This, my friend, is a science.
I still don't have gills, but it's fine.
It's all on the grind, son. Can't be too fine, can't be too coarse.
Dude, this would be a sick place to bring the band.
Indeed it would be, Dave. It really would. I'm seeing more people coming in. Welcome. Glad to have you here. Oh, look, here's someone new.
Is this the cultist meetup?
Yes it is.
Come to hang out? Please accept me. I have nothing else.
Okay, we accept you. Everyone's welcome here.
Brought some snacks.
Well, that makes things even better.
You want some coffee? I don't drink coffee.
You sure? It's cultist coffee.
What makes it cultist coffee?
I'm a cultist and I'm drinking it.
Oh. Then I'll have some.
What exactly is going on here?
I'm seeing more people coming in. Welcome, welcome. It's so great to have you. Oh, and look, here comes another stranger.
Can we help you?
Yes, fellow cultists. I could really use some food.
Oh yeah? Welcome. We have donuts.
Oh, it's me. I'm glad I'm here. I'm sure you have a few questions for me, though.
What's your name? Who do you work for? What god do you worship?
Great questions, Rob.
I'm Steve King, and I worship Nyarlathotep.
No, not really. I'm just Heath, and I won't be worshiping anything this morning. But I will be your host. Welcome to the office. We're going to have a great time. I've got my coffee ready, because now it's time for the morning grind.
If you could become a fish, that would be amazing. Then I could command you with my mental fish powers.
Good morning. Good morning. How are you? I am here. We had a fantastic discussion last night and DBJ, and he was up this morning on a live stream hours ago. So he's even more hardcore than I am about the live streaming thing. So, well, but welcome to my home. Welcome to the office. Welcome to the morning grind, everybody. We are headed into Christmas here. I think that there will be no morning grind tomorrow or Sunday. I've got a ton of still kind of Christmas, well, not kind of Christmas stuff to do, actual Christmas stuff to do. And I need tomorrow. I got a Christmas party tomorrow night and really need all of tomorrow to finish getting ready. I got to go to the grocery store and get some groceries for cooking and things like that. And I've got to prep a bunch of stuff for tomorrow. So I think it's probably better if there's no morning grind tomorrow. And then the day after on Sunday, I'm going to be spending my Christmas parties over at my brother's house tomorrow. And I'm just going to stay over there with him that night. Who knows? Maybe play Hero Quest with the boys in the morning. So Tomorrow will be basically my Christmas, and then Sunday as well. So I'll still be at his house Sunday morning. So no morning grind then. I'll also put that in the Discord server. Well, I don't know. Christmas Day, I'm not sure. I was actually my father's side of the family's Christmas got canceled because everybody's sick with the flu or COVID or both and all of that. And when that happened, or some of them were out with that. And I was like, well, I'll just go over to my father's house on Christmas morning, or late Christmas morning or something. But then they all got sick too over there in that house. So now I'm thinking, well, gee, I don't really think I'll go over there. So I might be here streaming for anybody who also wants to hang out on Christmas. I'm not sure about that. But I might not have any place to go actually Christmas morning. No, I can't take the whole week off. No. We could play Hero Quest on Christmas morning. I'll have to see. Well, I'm going to check in with the parents and see what what sickness is like in their house over there by the time we're actually on Christmas morning. But let's see here. Over on the Table Talk channel, I'll say again, if you're not subscribed over there, it would really appreciate it. Or a retro game stream opportunity. I wish there was I'd been watching movies on Christmas, so maybe also on actual Christmas Day. I know a lot of people go to the movie theater, but I still got this list that's stacked back up again of movies that I'm supposed to watch for the for Table Talk and all that. So may have to think about that. But Table Talk, last night, if you didn't see the discussion with DBJ, it was fantastic. So DBJ was here. We got to have him back. I love it when we find people that we really want to make sure come back regularly. DBJ had a fantastic insight. There, get this link coming to you. There you go. DBJ had fantastic insight into gaming and culture and all of that. James went to the theater Christmas Day. It was a way to escape the family chaos for 2 hours. It would take me longer than 2 hours to get there. But definitely watch RPG with DBJ. It was fantastic. And then Tuesday, Doug and I are talking about the Terminator. So that's the day after Christmas right there. Wait, so Tuesday is the day after Christmas? Well, actual Christmas is coming sooner than I thought. Okay, so tomorrow is the 23rd. That's my Christmas party. Then the 24th. Oh, that's Christmas Eve. So the 24th is Christmas Eve. Oh, I bet that the parents are not the parents and everybody in that household are probably not going to be recovered then by Christmas Day, because that's Monday. So the 26th, that's Tuesday, the day after Christmas. Doug and I will be talking about the Terminator. Then I've got a guest. I got to put together the link, the thumbnail for this. But on Thursday, we're going to have another guest on the show. I think I'll just surprise you with the thumbnail. I'm going to try to put the thumbnail together today. I used to try to put the thumbnails together always on Wednesdays, but I really need this thumbnail to get out. And if I do them, a whole week in advance, when one goes down, schedule the next one. Maybe more people will see them. So also a guest on Thursday. You're not going to want to miss Thursday's guest. My family always gave the kids a movie theater gift card for Christmas. I would drive and my brother and I would just leave for 2 hours in the afternoon. My parents didn't like it, but we did it anyway. So actually, there is going to be, I think that it is on Thursday. Oh, yeah. So there's a couple of reasons to not have the morning grind. On Thursday, I'm supposed to go over and play Hero Quest all day with the boys and help them shoot model rockets. So Thursday, so there will be no morning grind tomorrow, Sunday, or next Thursday, the 28th. But there will be Table Talk the 28th. The 28th, you're not going to want to miss. Okay. So anyway, that's what's going on. That's what's going on with Christmas. All right, let's go to our morning reading. Today, I want to look at the low stakes RPG, which we have looked at before. Was anybody here very early when we looked at the low stakes RPG? Very early on the morning grind? I got Liquid Death again this morning. Come on, load, computer. Illustrator wasn't wanting to work this morning, which is why I had no thumbnail. Oh, here we go. All right. Everybody grab your drink. I've got Liquid Death. So here we go. 2 deep inhales, complete exhales, and then take a sip of your favorite beverage. Here we go. And sip. There we go. All right. The amateur lives by the opinions of others. We did that one yesterday. The amateur, this is Turning Pro by Stephen Pressfield. The amateur permits fear to stop him from acting. Paradoxically, the amateur's self-inflation prevents him from acting. He takes himself and the consequences of his actions so seriously that he paralyzes himself. The amateur fears, above all, becoming and being seen and judged as himself. Becoming himself means being different from others and thus possibly violating the expectations of the tribe, without whose acceptance and approval he believes he cannot survive. By this means, the amateur remains inauthentic. He remains someone other than who he really is. The amateur is easily distracted. The immature has a long list of fears. Near the top are 2, solitude and silence. The amateur fears solitude and silence because he needs to avoid at all costs the voice inside her head that would point toward calling and destiny. So she seeks distraction. The amateur prizes shallowness and shuns depth. The culture of Twitter and Facebook is a paradise for the amateur. All right. Brianna and I are working again today. Another reason why we've got why I'll have to do Christmas stuff tomorrow is because Brianna and I are going to be attacking things again this afternoon. Or actually, not even this afternoon. As soon as I get off the stream, Brianna may already be working. We're getting things, bringing new stuff online. Okay, so Low Stakes was a game that was recommended to me a long time ago when we were starting out the morning grind because of the Cultists. So, and I believe this was Trey. I don't think Trey's in the comments right now, but Trey, you know, he in the other RPG, he comments all the stream on the Discord server. He comments all the time about new RPGs. And so he had read this Low Stakes RPG by Craig Campbell here that is an RPG that is based on What We Do in the Shadows. And he was like, this is a fantastic, fun game, rules light game based on the show What We Do in the Shadows. And I had not seen What We Do in the Shadows when I created the Cultists, but I watched it later. So What We Do in the Shadows wasn't a direct inspiration for the Cultists, although Brennan had seen it, I believe. I believe Brennan said, oh, you got to watch What We Do in the Shadows. This is kind of like this. I think maybe he watched it after too. Of course, the cinematography was very much inspired by Parks and Rec. He liked Parks and Rec. But because it's, because they're both mockumentary style shows, it seemed like to me that this RPG framework would be great for playing something that in the world of the Cultists. Yeah, Trey reads everything. Yeah, I enjoyed the show. I did go and watch it. It's been a while, but I did go and watch it after that. So this says Low Stakes, a game to play in the shadows. Okay, by Craig Campbell, Nerdburger Games here. So we're going to be evaluating this specifically for the Cultists here. What is this? Low Stakes is a rules-light comedic tabletop role-playing game, RPG, where players portray gothic horror monsters sharing a home and living together in the modern day. And they're not very good at it. In many RPGs, players portray characters engaged in grand quests, larger-than-life adventures, for which the stakes are incredibly high, often saving the world. In this game, the characters are usually doing something pretty mundane, hosting a party, going on a road trip, that sort of thing. Pretty low stakes, get it? Playing the game. Each player in Low Stakes portrays a character like a vampire, werewolf, or human. Together, you and other players tell a comedic, absurd story about your characters, sort of like an episode of a sitcom. Well, exactly like an episode of a sitcom. Specifically, the sitcom like What Do We Do in the Shadows? Most of the time, you tell the story, describing your character's actions and speaking for them. A lot of the game is improvisation and cooperation. Every now and then, you'll need to roll some dice. Specifically, you'll roll dice whenever your character tries to do something they're very bad at, and anytime your character tries to gain influence over their roommates, called gaining clout. The result of these dice rolls will determine whether or not you succeed, and that will propel comedy and complications in the story you're all telling together. Oh, and there are confessional scenes in the game, like sitcoms, where characters talk directly to an imagined camera crew that's documenting their lives, exactly like in The Cultists. So, how do you do a role-playing game that's like a mockumentary? Confessionals allow you to gain bonuses for yourself or screw with other characters and propel forward the comedy and complications. You can expect a single session of Low Stakes to run between 1 and 2 hours, so it's a good one-shot kind of game, depending on the number of players and how in-depth you get with role-playing through different scenes. What you'll need to play. You'll need this book and some 6-sided dice for each player. Each player needs a copy of one of the character's playbooks. Each playbook provides rules information for a character archetype. And the group needs a copy of one of the story outlines presented in this book. Story outlines provide a guideline for a particular type of story, like hosting a party, and they help provide you with ideas to keep the story moving. James says there's an older BBC show called Being Human about a group of friends moving into a house together. They were also vampires and werewolves. It's a sitcom about pretending to be human. Hilarious. I don't know that one. I feel like if you like this game, you'll like that show too. Very similar premise. Interesting. Experienced groups can play without a storyline and make everything up as they go. Safety tools. The game expects that you'll keep everything friendly, essentially PG-13 rated, but sometimes games like this devolve into areas that some players might find distasteful or downright alarming. You can use one of the variety of safety tools that are readily available online. The X card, developed by John Stavropoulos, is handy and used by a lot of gaming groups. Given the nature of Low Stakes, you might even consider using Script Change by Bree Bo Sheldon. At the very least, consider some boundaries before playing. Talk to the other players and determine what topics are off limits in your game and what topics you're okay with seeing presented, but don't want to see in detail. These are often referred to as lines and veils. Lines are things you don't ever want to have in your story. Veils are things that can be there, but only alluded to, and then you fade to black on them. You don't have to explain why these subjects bother you, and the other players don't get to ask why. You're telling a story together. You have a responsibility to both yourself and your fellow players to ensure the story is something that everything is comfortable telling. Okay, so moving on. How do I play? The game of Low Stakes is like an episode of a situation comedy on television. Your characters have relationships with each other that you can define beforehand or develop during play. The characters are placed into a fairly mundane situation and have to deal with events as best they can. The comedy comes from the characters interacting and the absurdity of vampires, werewolves, ghosts, etc. sharing a home in the modern day. Oh, Brent's seen Being Human. Hey, good morning, Zero. The chewy bits. Most of the game is free-form roleplay. Each player will portray their character, deciding what that character does and says as they deal with other characters and situations they've been thrust into. Think of this like an improv show. The rules of improv. The core tenet of improv is that all players must accept whatever the other players bring into the story. No negating of anything that's offered is allowed. So improv rules apply. If a player says their character bought a dog, you can't decide that's actually a cat or an elephant. Of course, anything designated as off limits when you set boundaries before play or revise during play isn't acceptable in the improv and can be denied. This is commonly referred to as yes and. Agree with what has been offered, say yes, and add something to it, the and part. Player groups that trust each other can occasionally instead say no, but, where you deny something but then offer a viable alternative that keeps the focus of the story where it previously was. These are not opportunities for you to steal the focus of the moment or win the scene. They are chances for you to give something interesting, evocative, and fun to the other players. Andrew says, I like how these newer games try to carve out problems ahead of time, focus on fun. Character, story, and humor. Most of your free-form roleplay will do one or more of the following things. It may develop character, your characters, or another player characters. You do this by revealing things about your character, developing relationships, and creating personal tension between the characters. It may move the story forward, helping you to get closer to a resolution. You do this by having your character actively pursue goals that will resolve the game situation. And it may provide humor. You do this by revealing a character's shortcomings, describing how your character fails at something humorously, exchanging witty repartee, and so on. So the crunchy bits. Most of the game can be handled with free-form improvisation. In a handful of instances, however, you'll use some simple rules and dice to adjudicate who succeeds at important things, as well as inject complications and humor into the story in a more formalized manner. You do this with the 4 C's: currencies, dice, checks, complications, and confessionals. Currencies, checks, which are done with dice, complications, and confessionals. Currencies. You have 2 currencies you'll keep track of on your character playbook: confidence and clout. Confidence is a reserve of points you can spend to improve your chances of being successful at different tasks. It's your character's inner determination. You start the game with 1 confidence and can have as many as you choose to hang on to as you earn them, but you'll also spend them. More on that later. Clout represents your character having the upper hand among your roommates. It means they've managed to impress their roommate in some way or otherwise earn some respect. You'll either have or you don't have clout. Only one character can have clout at a time. If someone else gains clout, you lose it. Checks. Most of the time, players describe what their characters do and say, and other players react to that, moving the story forward. There are 2 instances where you roll some dice, called a dice check or check, to determine if you're successful, rather than deciding success or failure for yourself. All characters have problem areas, which are things they are not very good at. They also have a few skills they use to try to gain clout with their roommates. These are called clout skills. Make a dice check whenever your character attempts to gain clout using clout skills, or succeed at something in their problem area. When you make a dice check, you roll a single die and compare the result to a target number. TNs for problem areas are always 6. TNs for clout skills are always 5. If your die equals 2 or exceeds your TN, you are successful. All right, that's easy enough. You can only attempt a dice check once per scene. Only one player can attempt a clout dice check in any single scene. So you may only attempt a dice check once per scene. Only one player can attempt a clout skill check once per scene. Improving your chances. Spending 1 confidence to roll an additional die. Spend 1 confidence to roll an additional die on your die check. You can spend as many confidence as you want, but once spent, they're gone, and you'll need to earn more. Whoever has clout rolls an additional die on any die check they make. Success. If you succeed at a problem area die check, your character manages to do something no one really expected them to do. You also gain 2 confidence. Sounds like we're going to need some chips for confidence. If you succeed at a problem area dice check, your character manages to do something no one really expected them to do. You also gain 2 confidence. If you succeed at a clout skill dice check, your character gains clout among the roommates, and any character who previously had clout loses it. Complications. If you fail a dice check, you'll introduce a complication. You can technically do this at any time, but when you fail a check, you have to. You can ask other players for suggestions. A complication is a wrinkle in the story that makes things more difficult for your character or for the characters. The only limit is your imagination, but it's often best to let complications start small and make them bigger and more significant as the game progresses. Confessionals. So this is the mockumentary style part of this. A confessional is a scene where your character breaks the fourth wall and speaks to an imaginary audience. Just one moment. And speaks to an imaginary audience about what's going on in the main story. You've seen scenes like this in The Office, Modern Family, and What We Do in the Shadows. Alternatively, a confessional might be presented as an inner monologue or a soliloquy to no one. During a confessional, your character reveals something previously unknown. No, I got the hiccups. Right, Robert says Shakespearean aside, yes. During a confessional, your character reveals something previously unknown, foreshadows something, or pokes fun at a character, and that character can be themselves. Playing a confessional scene. At any point during a scene your character is in, you can interrupt the scene and cut to a confessional scene for your character. Mark one of the 3 confessional types on your character playbook and make your confession. If the confession hinders or harms your character, then describe how they fail at something or otherwise suffer. They gain 2 confidence. If the confession hinders or harms another character, introduce a complication for them to incorporate into the scene. They gain 1 confidence. Once your confession is played out, go back to the scene at hand and continue. You can only play out each type of confessional once during a single game of low stakes, and it's possible to not play out all 3 if there are a lot of players or if the story ends up being relatively short. Confessionals are meant to introduce unexpected things into the story that you and other players must incorporate. So the story and the scenes, all of the improvisation and dice rolling. See, this is why you can tell it's like, oh yes, we should totally be doing this for the cultists. James says, I kind of dig the push and pull of resource management. All of this improvisation and dice rolling might seem a little intimidating. To help provide some structure to the game, Low Stakes features a series of story outlines further on in this book. Each story outline is designed to give you the basics of a situation the characters are in, as well as suggestions for scenes that will help you propel the story forward and provide opportunities for conflict, complications, and comedy. Regardless of the specifics of the story, the structure is always the same. Hey, hey, it's the Nose Plays. Nose Plays says, hey, Heath, haven't been around in a while, but just wanted to say Merry Christmas. Glad to see you're still doing well. Keep moving forward and have a great new year. You too. It's good to see you. I was actually thinking about you the other day because I was reading some comments on some of the dice videos earlier on the channel, and your comments were in the comments I was reading. I was like, oh, I haven't seen the Nose Plays in a while. And here you are. So great. It is so good to see you around. Merry Christmas to you and Happy New Year as well. Okay, regardless of the specifics of the story, the structure is always the same. Use the following guidelines to move through the scene and tell a story. As you get more comfortable with the game, you might change how some of this works and even improvise an entire game without using a story outline. Setting the stage. Select a story that everyone wants to play. Roll a die and refer to the setup list to determine the basic setup for the story. If you want to complicate things, roll a die and refer to the twist list to add something that will flesh out the story and shake things up a little. Lead player and lead character. Select a lead player. That player's character is considered the lead character for the first scene. They start with clout. The lead character is at the heart of the first scene. Move the action into the scene. Most of the action of the scene should involve or revolve around them. Anyone whose character is not in the scene portrays a non-player character, NPC. The player is called the extra player because the NPCs are like extras in a TV show. Passing lead character around. When a scene is over, the lead player chooses who will be the lead player for the next scene. Robert says, perhaps a third season could be done via Zoom if envisioned as a pandemic lockdown version, so it could follow how the cult was able to carry on its culty activities with physical contact when physical contact wasn't allowed. Well, that would be fun. It doesn't exactly work for our third season. We've got to finish those scripts. They're nearly finished. They're probably about 95% finished. There are 2 scenes that I was supposed to write in them, but then Brianna and I would need to go through the entire thing because it's been a while since we've written them. So I'm sure we would find things after all of our study of story structure and all of that to improve upon those scripts even more. But I hadn't ever actually thought about, could you just do a Cultists show via Zoom? That would maybe so. Passing lead character around. Okay, someone whose character is not in the scene portrays a non-player character, an NPC. The lead character is the heart of the first scene. When a scene is over, the lead player chooses who will be the lead player for the next scene. The chosen player's character becomes the lead character. The new lead character is the main character for the new scene. Most of the action of the scene should involve or revolve around them. The previous lead character becomes the extra player for the next scene. Their character can appear in the next scene, but should only play a minor role. They just had the spotlight moment. Perks of being the extra player. Each time you are the extra player, you gain 1 confidence. Determining the scene. The lead player rolls 2 dice, adds them together, and refers to the scene list in the story outline to determine what the scene is. If you repeat a dice result, use the next rolled scene, either up or down the list, lead player's choice. So the lead player rolls 2 dice, adds them together, and refers to the scene list in the story outline to determine what the scene is. If you repeat a dice result, use the next unrolled scene, either up or down the list, player's choice, or make up a scene of your own. Alternatively, if the previous scene sets up a new scene idea that would follow logically, you can use that idea as the new scene. Ending the round and starting a new one. Pass the lead character roles like this until everyone has a turn during this round. The last player who was the lead player for this round picks who's the lead player for the first scene of the next round, and so on. The story does not need to end on the lead player of the round, nor does everyone need to get an equal number of turns as lead player. More on how to end the story further on. Playing scenes. Players role-play their characters, describing what they do and say. Most of the scene is handled in a cooperative manner, with players using their own judgment on whether or not their characters succeed at things or fail. Each player can attempt a single dice check during the given scene, provided it makes sense for them to do within the narrative as developed by everyone. But you don't have to make a dice check if you don't want to. 1 and only 1 player can attempt a clout skill dice check during any given scene to attempt to gain clout. In doing, the character must do something in the narrative that would make others look on them favorably or otherwise earn their respect, even if only momentarily. The lead player has precedence in attempting this, followed by other players, and ending with the extra player. Giving up clout voluntarily. If you have clout, you can give it up voluntarily to get another character to do what your character wants them to do. That character gains clout and must acquiesce to your character's wishes. So, the lead player has clout, right? Okay, right. So the lead player, that player's character is the lead character, and they start with clout. The lead character is going to pass around in different scenes, but then also you can give up your clout to get another character to do what you want them to do. Okay, wrapping up the story. There will come a point where it feels like the overall situation of the story has been dealt with and the story is coming to a close. The player who has clout can attempt to bring the story to an end by declaring they are doing so. At that point in the scene, 1 other player can attempt to take clout away from them before the scene ends. That player makes a clout skill dice check as normal, spending confidence if they have any. The player who currently has clout can spend their confidence as well. Each point of confidence spent by this player cancels out 1 point of confidence spent by the player trying to win clout, though the player making the dice check always rolls at least 1 die. Regardless of the outcome of this dice check, the story is almost over. So you take a clout skill dice check as normal. So you're spending, that's rolling 2 dice, right? And trying to roll a 5 or a 6, I believe. The player who currently has clout can spend their confidence as well. Each point of confidence spent by this player cancels 1 point of confidence spent by another player trying to win clout. Oh, at this point of the scene, one other player can attempt to take clout away from them before the scene ends. So the person with clout is trying to end the game. Somebody doesn't want it to end, so they are going to try to take clout away. The player making the dice check always rolls at least 1 die. Regardless of the outcome of this dice check, the story is almost over. The character has clout, and any character who succeeds at a problem area dice check during the game has things work out fairly well for their characters. Those players describe how things end on an up note for the characters. All other players have things end poorly for their characters. They describe how things end with embarrassment, some massive failure, or some other down note for their character. While your monster type, or lack thereof if you're playing a human, is central to your character, it's not really the type of person you play that dictates much of the specifics about your character. But just to get this out of the way, the following are the types of monsters you can play along with those pesky humans. Note that if you play a monster, you always come across a human as a little off. You always come off to humans as a little off. You can never quite fully pass as human. So they have vampires, psychic vampires, werewolf, ghost, mystic, human, and other. So I think in here, these need to be our different types of cultist. Cultist of Azathoth, or Dagon, or Yog-Sothoth, or Cthulhu. Know that you can toy with the rules for different monster types however you want. Werewolves may be able to transform anytime and do partial transformations. How powerful a mystic spell is up to you, and so forth. Character creation. To create your character, do one of the following. You don't have to do everything in the order shown, but you need to do it. But you need to do it all. 1. Select a playbook. This defines your character's basic archetype and will define much of how they act. 2. Select a character type. You get the power listed in parentheses automatically, or create a character type and powers and put them on the blank line if you want. Define what powers your character has beyond the basic powers listed. You can also decide your character has certain powers during play when they become relevant. Select 3 problem areas. You can create 1 on the blank line, but they should be very broad and troublesome. Select 3 clout skills. You can create 1 on the blank line, but should be broadly applicable, something you can use in a lot of situations. Mark down 1 confidence for your character. Give your character a name. Define everything else that you consider important about your character. This might include their appearance, how they dress, how they speak or act, and quirks, etc. So, I think these are the playbooks. So, like, the anachronism is the playbook. You're better suited to living in another time, completely out of place in the modern world. You're set in your ways and have trouble dealing with the speed and complexity of modern life. So you have type. So this, you can be a vampire, a psychic vampire, a werewolf, a ghost, a mystic, or a human, or something else. Problem areas. These are TN6, modern tech and conveniences, social norms, pop culture, home ownership, or something else. We've got a space for powers. We really haven't talked about that yet. Whether or not we have clout and how many confidence we have. Clout skills. Act pathetic and garner sympathy. Point out your past successes to others. Pretend to be more important than you are. Use outdated language and skills to impress. See, that kind of sounds like a cantha, doesn't it? Confession. Reveal something unknown. Foreshadow what's to come, or poke fun at a character. So these are the confessions. So reveal something unknown, foreshadow what's to come, or poke fun at a character. I think we need like chips and tokens for clout and confidence. But I suppose checking off confessions works. The caregiver. You're often the poor bastard that's got the actual work done. You take care of everyone else, neglecting your own hopes and dreams, sometimes to your own detriment. Character name, what you are. Your problem areas include take care of yourself. How many problem areas are you supposed to check? Select a character type. Define what powers your character has beyond the basic powers listed. You can decide what your character, you can also decide your character has certain powers during play when they become relevant. Okay, so that's a bit free form. So you're supposed to select 3 problem areas and 3 clout skills. 1, 2, 3, 4. And with a possible, so you've got 4 suggestions here, 1 open space, and you select 3. The caregiver has take care of yourself, deal with a personal problem, stand up to someone, or berate or punish someone as their problem areas. Clout skills involve solve a problem for someone else, prove your value to someone, flatter someone in detail, teach someone how to do something. And then you've got the same confession. So these are the confessions that are for every character. Andrew says, you could use miniatures, the way the players have something to play with while hanging out and give a fun army of clout soldiers. Of course, I do like toys. Well, I think you could use miniatures too. Why not? You might not be in battle and have to represent the tactical situation here, but it still might be useful to represent the physical situation. So we've got the grump as another one of ours, the instigator, the judge. What is the judge? You see others around you as they are and can't help calling them out on their bullshit. However, constantly examining things and people around you often makes you unaware of your own shortcomings. The peacock. You are the cock of the walk and you assume everyone knows it. Your style, panache, and sexy eyes are the envy of everyone you know. You're sure there's nothing about you're sure there's nothing about you that needs any work. The rebel. You hate rules, period. You prefer to do things your own way. Even when you go along with the others' wishes, you put your own spin on things. You have a hard time getting others to trust you. The stickler. You're particular about, well, everything. You like things how you like them and lose your shit if things aren't just right. You often irritate others to no end, but at least you're reliable. So what is a story outline? A story outline is simply a series of cues that you use to help set up a story and then move it forward as you play. Each outline of the book is built around a simple, often very mundane situation that characters in a sitcom might find themselves in. If you don't see a common sitcom plot in this book, you can develop an entire outline of your own pretty easily, using everything here as guidelines. The setup. This entry defines what the story is about at its core. You can play each story multiple times with different characters and setups and experience a wide variety of different stories. Roll a die to make up your own setup. The twist. This entry adds a little something extra to the basic setup. It's entirely optional, though you can provide some inherent complications that everyone will have to deal with when telling the story. Roll a die or make up your own twist. Scenes. This entry is the heart of the story outline. During the course of the story, you'll play many of the scenes listed here. Roll 2 dice and add them together. The simplest, least complicated scene types are numbered 6, 7, and 8. As you progress toward 2 and 12, the scenes get more complicated and more outrageous. Usually you'll roll these middle numbers more often and start simpler. As you play, use those middle numbers. As those middle numbers get used up, you'll move to more and more complicated scenes to ramp up the conflict in the story. So I thought this was an interesting way to it's putting a story structure kind of into a game. Easier scenes to harder scenes as you roll. So setting aside the story outline. Once you're comfortable with a story outline format, you and your group might want to improvise a story without using a story outline at all. You'll start by picking up a situation the characters are in to serve as the setup. Add one or more twists of your own to complicate the setup. To play a scene without a list in place, it becomes the lead player's responsibility to set up each scene when it begins. Before everyone else starts chiming in, the lead player narrates an event, NPC arrival, or some other story element that informs the other players what the scene will be all about. Of course, in this type of game, it's much easier for scenes to grow and change into something unexpected, and it's easier for each scene to run more seamlessly into the next type of scene that makes sense. This is the ideal way to play the game if you want the stories to become more character-centric and more closely resemble what we do in the shadows. Okay, so bureaucracy. This is one of the ways to one of your story outlines. Bureaucracy. The modern world comes crashing down on you and some form of bureaucracy invades your life. A neighborhood or government official or department requires you to jump through their hoops. So setup, what's screwing up your life? Roll a die. 1, it's tax time. Or 2, you want to start a home business and need a permit. 3, the census taker comes around. 4, the neighborhood council demands your involvement. 5, you have to renew your lease, but first, an inspection. 6, government is kicking you out via eminent domain laws. And then there's a twist, roll a die. You only have a short time to get this solved. 2, you don't have the paperwork handy. 3, you have committed one or more crimes. 4, you've been in trouble with them before. 5, you know it's a scam, not real. Or 6, you have a criminal record. Actually, this sounds like a way, this whole thing sounds like a way to improv. You're improving a What We Do in the Shadows episode, but it sounds like you could improv an entire Cultist episode as well. So scenes, roll 2 dice and add them together. So here we've got this idea about the easiest scenes being here in the middle. Like you receive a notification in the mail, or you hear about new rules or laws that will screw you. Or 6, you get spammed with emails. But 5 is an agent shows up at your home. An injunction or fine is imposed. You have to talk to their supervisor. They bring legal proceedings against you as number 2. Or number 9 is go to the office and meet with them. 10, there's tons of paperwork. Or 11, you must suffer personal interviews. Or 12, they want a bribe. Hosting a party. Lost a pet. New neighbor. A new neighbor has moved next door. They're super annoying and constantly up in your business. Will they discover what you are? Will they care? Will they sell tickets? New roommate. You've had to take in a new roommate to help cover the bills. They just don't understand how you do things in the house and are constantly trying to make things work their way. One day. An ordinary day around the house turns into an absolute debacle. Nothing goes smoothly, and there's no one to blame. Everything just goes wrong. Can you get through the day? Road trip. You're on a road trip. You may or may not have planned it well, but you're on your way. The combination of cramped quarters and unfamiliar surroundings creates a powder keg. So, game summary. Okay, perfect. I'd improv an entire Cultist episode. Sounds really fun. Well, now that sounds like something that could also be done on Dinner and a Board Game. Improv the Cultist episode night on Dinner and a Board Game. Game summary. Improv, yes and no, but, while also maintaining established boundaries. Dice checks. Roll 1 die, TN 6 for problem areas, TN 5 for clout skills. Spend 1 confidence to roll an extra die with no limit. Roll an extra die if you have clout. If you fail, introduce a complication for your character. Gaining confidence. If you succeed at a problem area, gain 2 confidence. If you are the extra player, gain 1 confidence. Confessionals. Cut away, pick up a confessional type, confess something, then cut back. If the confession hinders or harms you, gain 2 confidence. If the confessional hinders, harms another, gain 1 confidence and give another character a complication. So setting the stage, scene order, set the stage. Roll for setup, roll for twist if you want to. Leads, select lead player, someone else's extra player. Passing leads. Lead player chooses new lead player at end of scene. Previous lead player becomes the extra player. Determine the scene. Roll 2 dice and add them together. If it's a repeat, move up or down the scene list. Play the scene. Each player can attempt a dice check if they want. No more than 1 player can make a clout skill dice check. So each player can attempt a dice check if they want. No more than one player can make a clout skill dice check. Give up clout to the character. Give up clout to make a character do what you want. Wrap the story. Players with clout decides that it's at its end. One player can try to take clout. Both can spend confidence. So I guess here is a general character sheet. Oh, and a blank scene sheet to build your own, or game story sheet. Oh, this was GM-less, so I actually should have looked at the back here. A game to play in the shadows. Well, not really. You'll need to see your dice. In low stakes, you portray a gothic horror monster like a vampire, werewolf, or ghost, or one of their human friends sharing a home with other monsters in the modern day. As it turns out, you're not very good at it. In this GM-less RPG, you'll engage in a sitcom-style shenanigans as you and your friends guide your characters through the vicissitudes of the conventional 21st century life, all the while trying to master your character's problem areas and vie for influence among your monstrous roommates. Pretty low stakes. Low stakes draws an inspiration from and is a love letter to what we do in the shadows. All right. I think that there's something to be done with the cultist there. So I hope that everybody has a wonderful sort of Christmas weekend. This is going to be my Christmas weekend, so I will not be streaming tomorrow because I've got to get ready for a party. And then tomorrow, the next day, Sunday, I'll probably still be at my brother's house. So no more morning grind for the rest of this weekend. But everybody, please go forward. Have a fantastic Christmas. I will see you before the new year. But everybody have a wonderful weekend here. I will see you later. Go forth, be creative, be constructive, and party hard. Oh, Andrew says party hard. Yes, party hard. Later, everybody.